Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Leaders Dojo. And we are going to have a great show tonight. With me tonight is Anwar Jumabhoy, very renowned business coach and author. And he's going to talk about the entrepreneurism mindset. And I think this is really relevant because we are in such a challenging environment right now in our world, not just in business, but in so many different areas. And I think we're all thinking about what is agility, right? We're all thinking about agility. We're all thinking about how are we going to survive this and all the different skills that we need to have to adapt. And we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. So I want to invite all of you to drop in your questions and comments wherever that you are. Okay, so if thank you for joining us tonight, and wherever you are, just leave us a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from and who is here. Um, and we'd like to say hi to you. But before we go on, let me just do my spiel. Let me introduce myself for those of you who are not so familiar with me yet. My name is Chee-Seng, and I'm a writer and I'm a content writing trainer and a thought leaders coach. In that, I help people write their content, and as well for people who are aspiring thought leaders, I help you to um, build your authority and your thought leadership strategy and your personal brand in that direction. So this show is actually a offshoot, right, from the training outfit that I'm with called the Communications Leadership Academy. And we are trying to offer something different in the market where we have a concept that communication, leadership, branding is all really integrated now. It's not so neatly separated. So Cafe is our culture, leadership, and communications champion, and Andy is our strategic communications champion. He's been in PR for a long time. Cafe is international speaker and coach. Shenfeng is our digital marketing and branding trainer, and he's got his own company doing digital marketing for a lot of brands. And myself, I'm a writer and content and thought leadership. So that's where we come from. We pull our unique skills together so that we can offer something to the market that is more holistic. And that's as I mentioned, this is where the show comes in, because it also comes from my experience as a teacher for almost 25 years. And I realized that, as generations pass, mindset changes. Um, the need for leadership and mentorship in business is really becoming more and more. People are still complaining about millennials, and I think millennials are pushing middle age. For the oldest one is about 40 now in the generation. So if we don't start the mentoring, the leadership cycle, right? I think we're gonna have problems later, right? Because uh, where's the continuity going to be? Okay, but that's the show where we want to start conversations like this. We want to talk about leadership, we want to talk about branding, we want to talk about communications, all the things that are so much more are becoming so much more and more important today, right? And as I mentioned, tonight with me is Anwar Jumabhoy, um, and we're going to talk about the entrepreneurism mindset, and especially relevant is how to continually stay relevant in a chaotic world. We all know the past year, there's been huge disruptions everywhere, every industry, and we want to really rethink a lot of things, right? How we're going to move forward and survive. So Anwar has over 40 years of business and management experience covering several industries. He has built oil rigs, drill ships, sold marine equipment and burgers. He's conducted gymnastic classes as well as computer classes for kids and managed budget hotels. So along the way, he co-founded a couple of technology companies and worked at two venture capital firms. So definitely he knows a thing or two about building businesses, building successful businesses, in fact. So he is passionate about entrepreneurship and currently works with corporate executives, helping them to become more effective. So without further ado, let me just bring Anwar on board. Hello and good evening, Anwar. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Good evening, Chee-Seng. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, let's say hi to Jimin. Hi, Jimin. How are you? Right, wherever you are, just drop us a hello, and so that we can say hi to you as well. Thank you, Jimin. Jimin is really our regular man. I see him here every show. Thank you very much for your
It's
support.
always good to have a fan, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That word just flawed me a bit. I never thought of myself as somebody
No,
having
I mean,
fans.
in any business, you want to have the people who love you, right? And
Yeah, that's true.
in a business, you have to respect the fact that some people won't.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Anwar. So what do you do, and where you coming from?
Sure.
Yeah, share a bit.
So basically, I've done many things over the years, and the first phase was really as an engineer. I worked in a shipyard for a long time, and
Mm,
then I had one phase where I got involved in a number of startup businesses, and all of them failed or certainly didn't do well. So there was quite a bad scar, and then I ended up going back to the job market. And when you look back and you think, why are some businesses successful? It dawned on me that the businesses that are more entrepreneurial are obviously more successful, because these are the businesses, as you mentioned, agility. But agility is also a skill set. It doesn't just happen,
mm,
right? So the things that drive the three things that sort of define entrepreneurs, I guess, would be what we call self-efficacy, risk taking, and passion, right? And these are three things that you can build into other organizations. It's just that organizations don't make the effort.
mm.
So
But
so
how
you
how?
you
Okay,
you get,
sorry.
for example,
Yeah.
organization. I mean, I worked in Tune Hotel, right? Budget
Mm,
hotel business. We can find a passion, we can find a relevance, and we can communicate that to the staff that we save the environment. We give you a small room, less
mm,
footprint on the environment. We save you money. We are fair to you, because if I have a pool and a buffet, then whether you eat there or swim there or use the gym, you still have to pay for it. This way, by cutting it all out, nobody's paying for your meal, right? And you're
mm.
not paying for anybody else's. So you need to find, every business should be able to find the reason for being there.
Right. So, but tell us a little bit. How did you come into the consultancy business?
I mean, consultancy is a loose word, right? So, I mean, I'm at the age where I do a little bit of work here and there. It doesn't define me, and
Right.
and so I have that privilege of being close to with my values, right? So what are your
Mm,
values? Your values are what drive you, right? So
right. That's
my
right.
values are honesty and respect. And a lot of organizations don't respect their people. Forget about the customers.
Mm,
They don't respect the people, right? So I give you the example of an organization today. I mean, I had to go and change a pair of trousers, and I thought, oh crap, I've pulled out the label, I don't have the receipt. They're not going to give me back a refund, right? Or allow
right.
me to replace the product. But it's on an app. I showed them the app. I showed them the purchase, the date. I said, look, I bought three. Two were large, one was medium. I made a mistake. uh, the shop assistant should have also told me that, hey, guy, you're buying two L and one M. Are you sure you get that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't. So I mean, this business of being entrepreneurial is something that I think drives organizations to
Mm,
success.
right. So okay, and that's where you have your book, right? The Nine Entrepreneurisms.
Correct. Yes.
So, what led you to that? Eventually coming out with the book.
Well, I mean, the book has a complex title. We thought we were really smart by calling it an entrepreneuralism.
Mm,
It turned out to be a difficult word to say. It's easier to write it, and
okay.
the URL was a pain as well, so I gave up the URL. um, Essentially what we said is that, what are the practices of successful entrepreneurs, And can these be adopted by other people or learned? And we say that yes, they can. So, essentially what we're telling people is that entrepreneurs are not different people. They just do things differently. And
Mm.
you as an executive, you as a manager, you as a corporate leader, you as a parent, you can do things differently. Why are you bound to a process? And
Right.
organizations have grown, and unfortunately, for historical reasons, for avoidance of risk or whatever, they've become so process centric. Process was good for a while, but when you reach an environment where it's moving, it's changing, maybe process is not the best option for you.
Mm. Okay, and that's where the entrepreneurial mindset has to be embedded into the organization itself.
Correct.
Uh, so maybe you can tell us a little bit more, right? That segues really nicely into our first question, right? What is entrepreneurism? How is it different from intrapreneurism? That's the other business
Okay.
buzzwords that are going around.
Correct. So let's start with intrapreneur, right?
Mm.
So intrapreneur is somebody that you bring into an organization, you give them a lot of flexibility, and they can do whatever shit they want, right? You sort of allow them to experiment, right? So they're
Right.
intrapreneurs, right? They're helping you develop a business, but you structurally don't change anything, right? Nobody else gets flexibility, just the intrapreneur. Or sometimes they say entrepreneur in residence, right? So he can do stuff,
Mm.
but the organization cannot, right? So that's entrepreneur in residence. Then you have what we call the dictionary definition of what's an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is somebody who starts their own business. So what we're
Mm.
trying to marry is the skill set of an entrepreneur with that desire to be more entrepreneurial, which companies are chasing. And in this case, they're frightened of their own shadow, right? Don't do
Mm.
this because something will go wrong. Don't do that because something will go wrong. I mean, guy, let's sit down and see what will go wrong and how much will it cost us. And people don't tend to look at what's the cost of not doing it,
Right.
right? We tend to, because organizations have somehow become so accounting driven. Print out last month's P&L. Let's go through it. Let's look at this, or let's save money here and here and here. The P&L doesn't tell you where to make money.
Right.
And when I was at Tune Hotel, we were so cost driven that you had to tell the finance guys and you tell the other guy, back off.
Hmm.
If you keep trying to save money, we're going to get worse and worse customer experience, which is going to lead to worse and worse room rates, which is going to lead to a lower revenue. So if
Hmm.
you're all the time focused on the cost and telling the manager, hey, don't do this, hey, don't do that, hey guy, Dave, don't change the sheet so often, hey Dave, get a cheaper housekeeping service, hey Dave, turn off I mean, and Dave is supposed to deliver customer experience.
Hmm.
So what happens, right? Dave then just says, okay, boss, tell me what you want me to do. And energy gone, passion gone, productivity gone. All he's
And
doing is reporting to the accounting department and filling up reports. So how is that going to drive your business?
this sounds so familiar, right? In the work that I do, right? In communications, um, we often hear, okay, we need to stand out in the market, right? We need to do something different and speak differently, right? And all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, there's always a retreat, right?
Hmm.
Let's go forward, and then okay, this looks too risky, this looks too dangerous, this looks unproven, okay, and then it retreats, and it always goes in cycles, right? There's forward, and then okay, too risky, retreat, and then okay, it's boring here, let's go forward, and then no, that's too
Yeah.
risky, and then retreat.
I think
So
Chee-Seng, there was a time where large organizations could afford that forward, backward. But
mm,
today, there are two problems that these organizations face. Number one problem is recruitment of talent.
mm.
Energetic, young, bright people don't want to work for old-fashioned, shitty businesses, right?
That is
So what are they going to do, right? They're either going to work for your competitor or they're going to become your competitor. And so
right.
organizations have a problem, right? Because you cannot recruit these people. They're going to go and work for somebody else.
That's very true.
And
um
so
yep.
this is the dilemma. So it's about, and I think the issue really is about fundamentally is about respect.
Mm.
Respect work. Don't tell people. You hire as I tell some of the clients. Actually, you want to hire robots. It's just that the robots are not bloody available. So what do? You hire people, and then you try and tell them to behave like robots.
Oh man.
Why hire people? Why hire people?
Well, hiring robots is becoming more and more of a reality now with the AI becoming more highly developed. Well, but that's the other side of the story now, right? Because if AI in the near future, I mean, even now there are many processes that can be automated, right?
Yes,
Especially in some frontliner customer service,
of
right?
course.
So then, how would we be able to strike a balance between, okay, let's automate this with AI, because this is like routine, and then okay, we need to do some really agile thinking and behavior here, right?
Yes.
So where do we strike that balance?
It's very specific to the company. It's very specific to the DNA of the company. There's certain things your company can do, certain things you cannot do. Because I give you an example, right? So I have what we call, people tend to live in this what I call a boxed world.
Mm,
Everything is okay in the box, and but what happens with the box is it creates limits, right?
right.
It creates limits on knowledge. It creates on working, everything, right? And today the world is unboxed,
That's right.
right? So you don't have to hire talent from down the road. It doesn't have to be in the same city. It can, right? So you the same solutions. You need to be a little flexible and think about, okay, this is my end objective. This is my capability.
Mm,
Between my capability and my end objective, what can I do?
right.
And just be practical about. I mean, I tell companies for years, why do you have a probation period? They spend so much time on their probation period. They don't spend any time on how to terminate employees who don't perform.
R-
And if you look at the case, you if you look at your stats, right? I mean, why do American companies give up the probation period? Because they look at the stats and they say, why do we want to build this whole infrastructure to make sure managers review, to do this, to do this, to do this for the probation period, right?
mm,
Let's just focus on having a process that if somebody doesn't perform, we can work him out or work
mm,
him up, right?
mm,
Instead of doing that, that's a hard question. They want to do the easy one, the irrelevant one, which is run the probation system,
mm.
which is ridiculous. So the guy
Right.
comes, and I've had that experience. We hire somebody, and then 2-3 weeks later, he says, Anwar, can I talk to you? And whenever somebody says that, you look at the face, that this is what is coming next. He says, I got a job with MAS, and really that's the job I want, right? So
Uh,
my response is, okay, Ken, you can quit tomorrow. I don't
mm,
want you to hang around for the whatever 2 months, 3 months period. And so what you don't measure is the number of people who take the job because they actually have something else that they're waiting for.
mm,
So it plays both ways, right? You think you
right.
can terminate people. People think, hey, let's join them while we can think about what to do.
Mm,
So it's about being realistic. It's about building respect, right? And that's why
right.
entrepreneurial organizations tend to recruit people because they have clear purpose. When they hire people, there's work to do.
Mm,
Nobody is busy watching you whether you're doing your work or not because they don't have enough people to go around.
right.
Whereas you work in a large organization, there's so many people watching you, and then there's layers, and then it's a
Yeah.
mess.
And I think I did mention to you just now, right? That to me, to my mind, and probably to a lot of people's minds, to run an organization that is so flexible like this, it involves a certain level of courage and risk taking, right? To Yeah. So but business world is notoriously conservative, right? It's risk averse. So how would you go around
Well, I mean,
building?
I don't want to go into the example of companies that were so risk averse that don't exist anymore, right? So I don't think risk aversion. If you tell me my strategy is risk aversion, then I would say to you, buddy, just check out this strategy and see whether it really works. Because
Mm.
I haven't heard of risk aversion working, and that's what I mean. I have a granddaughter who's almost two now, and she's when she was trying to walk, and she didn't manage. Her parents didn't say, um, don't try. It's too difficult. I mean, that's part
Right.
and parcel, right? So businesses kid themselves if they think that every decision they make is right and every decision that they make is not going to result in some loss.
Mm.
So so it's the same as disruption. People talk about disruption as being this kind of fall off the cliff thing.
Mm.
It's not. It's a continuum. It moves, it changes, right?
Mm.
So you think about how fashion changes, you think about how technology changes, you think about you look back and say it was it disruptive? It was disruptive because you didn't see it coming. But
Right.
if your mindset is there's a continuum, and I give you a very simple example, right? So in 95, I think 96, I had a computer center of kids. We were teaching kids how to use computers to learn science, maths, English, and on the
Mm.
back of CD-ROMs. I mean, maybe you don't know what a CD-ROM is, but it's this little hard.
I am old enough.
Is that right? It's this hard thing you push into, and it plays a video, and then you answer some questions, and you sit at a computer and you learn things, right? You
Right.
put things in order, etc. Today, I'm helping a company that's doing training, which is mobile app based.
Mm.
If you forget about the fact that that was CD-ROM, required a computer, this is an app running on a mobile phone. Is exactly the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they produce a whole bunch of modules. Each module is 10, 12, 14 minutes. Do the module, answer the questions, do it as many times as you want. It's exactly the same thing as what we used to do with the kids in CD-ROMs.
Mm.
And so, you know, think of it as a continuum, right?
Mm.
We lost track of that. And then suddenly we're coming back to that.
Mm.
So why do you say mobile learning is disruptive? It's not. I was there in 94, 95.
Right. But the mode has changed, so people don't recognize the. Well,
Yeah,
I guess
and
it's
that's an example of hanging on to process. If you hang on to
mm,
process, you get screwed, right?
yeah.
If you
So I
focus on
guess
the
I guess
outcome,
the it's really the ability to grasp the core of the
what
subject
are
or
you
the core
trying?
of the matter, right?
Yeah, exactly. What are you trying to achieve,
Hmm.
right? So I
Hmm.
mean, we when I was at Tune, we didn't manage to complete the whole thing, but we got frustrated with trying to produce operating manuals. I mean, you spend so much time on the language, you spend so much time on writing it up, the graphs, you make these binders, and then there's a revision, and it goes through the whole thing again.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can
it's silly.
imagine.
It's silly, right? Silly. So we then, when I was towards the time when I was leaving, basically said, let's just move to videos. This is how you make up a room. This is how you clean the bathroom.
Yeah.
We give you an objective, and we get a video on the process, and then you figure it out.
Right.
So it's the same in customer service, right? You spend so much time getting customer service people to say things in English, the way. And can I help you, sir? I mean, you haven't helped me with the thing I wanted to call you. I mean, you call telecom and say, "Can you fix my phone?" And they say, "No, it's not available yet." They say, "Can I? Is there anything else I can help you with? I only get one thing from you. What else do you want?" And somebody said, "Give me some nasi." I mean, come on, right? So we tend to get involved in this whole process thing. And at Tune, we told our call center, forget about speaking the Queen English.
Hmm.
Understand your role, understand what you're trying to get across, and speak it in any way you want.
Hmm. Okay. I mean that is like a. I mean, it sounds revolutionary to me because it's not common, right? In the market. Um, I mean, and you're right about call centers, right? Call center processes, I feel, is a human being on the end, but it can easily be replicated by an AI, right?
So
Because
it
with
comes back to what we said earlier, right? The
Right.
company wanted robots. They couldn't get robots, so they got
Yeah,
you.
because with the voice, I mean, it's easily done now with voice recognition. Now you can actually speak to the phone and get the answers.
Those are
The
horrible.
process.
Those are really horrible. I mean, when I was in MathCap in 2000, we had invested in a company that was based on using voice answering. And the problem with that is that you have to be 99.9% accurate,
Yeah,
because otherwise you just frustrate so many people. That's why IVR came up, because that way you don't make a mistake.
yeah. But the thing is the process. I mean, they have like a tree, right? The process, the answer tree. Uh, you don't need a human being to do that to actually be at the other end. But if you do give them, you do empower them to really solve a problem, then it makes a difference. If they're
Yes.
just going through the answer tree, then there's no difference between them and an AI, right? Okay, some people are saying hi. Hi, Ruth. Thank you for joining us. Yat Hong, really good to see Yat Hong, and his comments are always the best, man. Always the bomb. Okay, Chan, talent scout, true CD-ROM, take up too much space. This comment cannot lah.
So Chee-Seng, let me give you a funny story about that, right? So it sometimes it's a companies are now using that pasamalam CD-ROM strategy, right?
Yeah.
They in those days they would sell you a movie, and you went back, and if it didn't work, you bought
Yeah.
5 and 2 didn't work, you take it back. And I used to look in amazement. The 2 that I said didn't work, he put into pile and sold it to somebody else,
It's fine.
in
You
the
just
hope that that person either doesn't complain or has a machine that it
yeah,
works on.
just keep the revenue moving, man. So okay, so now what I think this is what we're trying to aim at, all right? What are some of the most important issues that entrepreneurism addresses in business today? I think there are quite a number, right?
Yeah. So I think number one is about self efficacy, right? Really understanding what you do, the value you bring to the customer. I think that's very, very important.
Mm,
The second is, how do you inject passion into that
mm,
organization, your organization? And the third thing at the top, I would say, is that continually experimenting,
mm,
and not sitting there and thinking that tomorrow is going to be the same as yesterday.
mm.
We don't look today what we did. I mean, you see your profile picture where you got a nice suit and tie and everything, and you're different now, right?
Yeah,
So
that's my
we
unusual unusual status.
so we evolve, and businesses need to learn that they need to evolve. And
Mm,
if they get too wedded to process, which tends to happen, right? So
yep.
you get what I call custodians of procedure,
Mm,
people in the organization who tell you can't do something for some very valid reason, and they're
mm,
typically in finance, HR, and legal.
mm.
These three businesses don't make money.
Right.
The people that contribute money to the organization are the customer facing people.
Mm,
And if you don't listen to them, and you listen to these three people, HR, accounting, and finance, your business is not going to evolve.
mm.
And your business does not evolve, then there are plenty of examples of businesses that don't evolve.
Well, there seems to be some kind of flux, some kind of cycle here, right? Because for smaller companies who start with entrepreneur, right? He's very entrepreneurial, but as he grows, he needs to structure it. He needs to have a finance, HR, all this come in to stabilize, right? Whereas large companies who have already grown to that size and they've fixed into these processes,
Yep.
it seems like they need to rediscover the entrepreneurial spirit.
Correct.
So
That's right.
how do we prevent from falling into either extreme?
So when we were writing the book, I spoke to a professor at INSEAD, right? So we were trying to uncover this real story behind Nokia. So, and he did some work with Nokia, and he said, "No, why are you bothering? Because that's life. Businesses come, they fail, and others start. And you can take that view. You can take that view that yes, businesses come, fail, and other businesses start. It sounds okay to say that, it's academic,
Mm.
but a lot of people get hurt.
Mm.
And it's not the guys typically at the top that get hurt, it's the guys in the middle and the bottom that get hurt. And what we're trying to say is that shouldn't happen,
Yeah.
you know. So if your business, if you have more entrepreneurial practices, if you have more respect for your people, you can meet the competition, you can do well against the competition, and you can survive and you can thrive.
Mm.
And why should you pay the price? And because it's never the rank and file guys who make the decisions, right, that kill off the company. It's
And
always the guys at the top.
I think that is quite a challenge, right? Because if to me, I feel it this way. To pursue growth, you need to have that kind of mindset first. To be ready to. I mean, we our mindset depends on our success depends on the level of mindset that we're ready to achieve, right? So if for people who are ready, who are comfortable up to a certain point, right, and anything beyond that seems like scary or impossible or anything like that, well they will be stagnating, right? So how would you advise, this kind of situation?
It's very hard to be general, to sort of give general advice on this, because it really depends on who's driving the organization, right?
Mm,
So if the person driving the and a lot of entrepreneurs build businesses not necessarily that are entrepreneurial.
mm,
So entrepreneurs build businesses, and sometimes they can either go in the direction of becoming corporate and very rigid, or they become not family owned, but family type of companies,
mm,
where it's just the
mm,
founding entrepreneur and two or three people that really make all the decisions. And structurally, they're no different to a family company. It's just that they don't seem to have family relationships, but really
mm,
those are family companies. So if it depends on your company and your environment, what is your objective? And then it's a question of who do you want to hire,
mm.
right? If you say that I'm happy with the status quo, that's fine. Who's
Right.
going to join you? How long will your status quo last? If you
Mm-hmm.
can't hire people, how long will your status quo last? And if you
Right.
accept that, fine, I'm happy with the status quo. This is what I want. I don't want to take risks. That's okay. It's your call, your business.
Right.
But I don't
But
think
just
you're going
have
to
to
be
be
able to
aware
hire.
that
Yeah,
just have to
you
be
got to be
aware that
aware
there
that
are limitations to what you can achieve and the sustainability in the long run, lah.
correct, correct.
Mm.
So you see this in second, third generation businesses, right? So we have a number of businesses in Malaysia which are second, third, fourth generation, right? I was reading the other day about a roller shutter business,
Mm.
second or third generation. Of course, Genting, second, third generation. Um, the jewelry business, second, third generation.
Mm.
So there are a number of Selangor Pewter, many generational business, right? So there are businesses that acknowledge the fact that they need to continually evolve.
Mm.
Now they may say evolve, they may say innovation, but
Mm.
really it's being entrepreneurial,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's the founders' children that have that flexibility. So in a sense, it comes back to what you said about entrepreneur, right? They're
Yeah.
the ones who have that flexibility, and they can drive the organization a step further.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned generational business because I'm quite fascinated, because I'm from Ipoh, and there are
Okay.
basically two famous tauhu fa stalls in Ipoh. So one of them I know personally, my friends. They are the world famous Funny Mountain.
Okay.
Um, but they are very traditional, right? They like to keep the family within. They like to keep the recipe within the family,
Yes.
right? And I did mention to them, you have a fantastic brand. It's worldwide now. Why don't you take it bigger? And the reply was, well, my dad doesn't want to compromise on the quality of the product, so it has to be done this way. Whereas there's another one, I can't remember the original name, but the children started a very millennial and youth oriented brand called Dao,
Okay.
and they're offering different flavors of the taufu fa, and they even have a soy milk smoothie, which I is actually tastes amazing, right? And they're opening chains,
Yes.
and I'm just, as you mentioned that, I just remembered this, and I thought, well, both of them are doing well, but it's just that the direction that they're taking is so different, right? uh one is expanding into new markets, new products, and one is just content to do well as they have always been doing.
Yep. I mean, you take the example of T Live, right? Phenomenal
Mm,
success, phenomenal work by the founder to reposition his company after he broke with the franchisor.
mm. Yeah,
They're massive,
yeah,
and
they
they're
are.
now doing coffee, and so it comes back to that also, the DNA of the organization, right?
Yeah.
What are the desires, and maybe that's a age limiting thing, right? So maybe if you're in
Mm.
your 50s or 60s, you come to the stage where you say, okay, I don't
That's
want
enough.
to. Yeah. And the mistake I find is that when people try and build new businesses, they or new markets, they tend to hire and find somebody to create this new business, when actually they should be doing it themselves, because
Mm,
the person that you hire in is never going to know your business as well as you know your business.
mm,
And the mistake I find is that it's easier, if you run a company, it's easier to find somebody to run your company which is in steady state, and for you to develop a new business, right?
mm,
And this example was related to me by a very large business in Malaysia, and this guy had built his store in built the father's new outlet in Penang, and they were going to open, I think, in Kota Baru. So the
mm,
father said to him, we're going to open in Kota Baru, and I want you now to go to Kota Baru. And he said, but why me? I mean, I'm
mm,
comfortable now. I'm married. Why can't my younger brother go?
mm.
He's free, he's flexible. And the father said that if you want to win in a war, are you going to send your weakest or your strongest general?
Oh, wow.
And that's the mistake a lot of companies do. They try and
Yeah.
hire the weakest person, and then they say it failed. But that was, and I tell founders, when you want to go overseas, you want to expand, don't hire somebody from there. You need to have somebody from your founding team go, because nobody will understand your capability better than your founding team. And
Yeah.
nobody will be able to flex your business to suit the market condition better than people who really are founders of the business.
Yeah, and that comes back to actually the question of empowerment, right? So to actually give them enough rope to actually go out there, instead of worrying that they're going to hang themselves, but to actually do well by themselves. That I feel takes a certain level of courage lah for people.
Yeah, I mean, so it comes back to the example I gave you
Mm,
what do you call it, probation period. If you build your ability to deal with people who don't perform,
mm.
it's far less expensive than the whole machinery around your probation system.
Okay, let's look at what Chan
Does it
says.
mean that we no longer need to conduct? Well, I mean, if that's the way you can run your business, go ahead, run it. I mean, there are no rules. There are no rules in business, right? Remember, it's an unboxed world, right? So entrepreneurs don't are not stuck inside the box, right?
Mm,
And if it's cheaper to run your business this way, go ahead. I mean, there are some businesses that can do that. I was
yeah.
recently talking to somebody who runs a cosmetics, actually skincare business in selling into North America. One founder is based in Hong Kong. One founder is based in Canada. The
Mm,
design team that does the packaging is in Paris. The packaging is produced in Shenzhen. The mixing is done in Canada, and the products are sold in. I mean, that's an example of a business that's existing today, and And the beauty of it is that all the people working on the business are experts in their area, number one. Number two, they are very passionate about what they're doing.
Hmm.
So you're going to get a lot more out of them than your rank and file employee who, is available from down the road. And
Yeah,
so
and I think
businesses have to compete. This is the level at which businesses have to compete, right?
I think it takes a certain vision as well, right? Because I mean, sometimes, I mean, over the MCO, we've seen some people. I've seen some people on YouTube who have actually collaborated to create a music video, right? They actually produced a song together, with people from
Sure.
all over the world. Um, Somebody has to actually have that vision
Yep.
and organize all the people together, right? And there has to be some people who share their vision instead of saying, it can't be done, right? So, and I guess that would actually lead us to the further question: how do you build this sense of vision, purpose, agile thinking, flexibility into a business, right? Is and not let it get stuck in the process, just spinning the wheels.
So there are two situations, right? One is an existing business,
Hmm.
and the second is a new business, right? In a new
Hmm.
business, people rally around you because you're clear about what you want to do and you hire like-minded people,
Hmm.
right? In an existing business, a lot of businesses get this siloed and get stuck in that process and lose track of who's the customer.
Hmm.
And the business does not do enough with its senior team to understand its purpose.
Hmm.
So the managers then become managers of process
Hmm.
rather than becoming the people that are going to spread the purpose, because
Right.
they themselves, I mean, some mission vision statement is written by some PR, HR, whatever company. Sounds, I mean, I did a session for a company recently and I said, this sounds so wonderful. I have absolutely no clue what it means. It just sounds wonderful. It sounds wonderful. And
I'm laughing
amongst,
because I do that so many times.
is it, and you sit with the 12 or 15 managers and you say, so in your business, in your role, in the people you control, what of that are you able to impart? And they all struggle
Hmm.
because nobody sat down and said that A, they didn't make the vision mission simple enough, and B, that nobody sat down with them and said, this is how it's going to play out for you,
Hmm.
right? So in accounting, this is how it's going to play out for you. You're going to work with the hotel manager, you're going to do the accounting, you're going to sit down with him and discuss with him what are his priorities, how you can help him.
Hmm.
In HR, this is what you're going to do. And that's why you've seen, for example, in large companies, they've now distributed their HR into business units. HR no
Hmm.
longer sits central. In most of the MNCs, they have what they call HR, I think it's HR business partner. And they
Hmm.
sit in the business. They
Hmm.
understand the business. They know what a P&L is,
Hmm. This is
right?
the CHRO role, right? I think it's
No,
called.
but they distribute their people into the business units.
Oh, okay, right.
So you're dealing with a business HR person who sits with you, who can answer the P&L as well as you can answer the P&L, who can tell you what the operating company does.
Hmm.
And so when they need to do hiring, when they understand the context of the business, they're not sitting outside, right?
Right. And this really speaks to the entrepreneurial mindset, right? I mean the culture, right?
Yes.
Because if I were a small company, I'm the HR. I know who to hire for what purpose and how it affects my business. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many things that you can do, right? And that's what I tell people, that just look at A, what your competencies are, and B, look at every practice that you do and ask yourself, is it necessary? Is it bringing value that's aligned with your purpose? Or is it just a practice for some reason?
Hmm.
And if you don't do it or do it differently and it goes wrong, pick up the pieces. I mean, I had a session the other day with a company that were, you know, getting their knickers in a twist about the new about a compensation system. I mean, try it. Make it clear to people that look, we're going to run with this. If it and we want the flexibility that in 6 months, 12 months, we're going to revisit it.
Mm.
That's
Well,
fine.
what you're saying sounds a lot to me like breaking down, preconceptions and silos. Uh, you know, um, and that's why I keep coming back to the question of, okay, are people ready to take? It might not be a risk, as you mentioned, right? The risk of not having the change is even higher. But emotionally, mentally, people see it as a risk because it's different from the safe thing that they've always done.
Correct. It's familiar. They don't
Yeah.
want to do something that's unfamiliar,
Mm,
and that's fair. But you got to ask yourself in your organization how many of these you need. Maybe you're fine with some people like this, but if everybody is like this, then you need to ask yourself. And that's another thing about HRs, HR and organizations, right? They tend to implement and do surveys across the whole organization, right?
mm,
So this is what the organization wants. I mean, when I joined Tune Hotel, we used to do 360 reviews, which is you take the hotel manager out and you talk directly to the staff so that you understand what's happening, right?
mm,
It was skip level meetings, right, with the staff. Those are good things, but it reaches a point where it doesn't give you the return.
mm,
If you want to design a system that is everybody is happy with, the few people that are the high performers, they're not going to happy with the system. And
mm,
if you look at an organization, 20% of your people are the high performers. I mean, you can't do without the 80,
yeah.
but you really need to rely on the 20. And if you need to rely on the 20, then you build the same system for everybody. It's like telling me, Chee-Seng, tomorrow you run Manchester United, and from now on, everybody gets paid the same.
Mm.
How many footballers are you going to be able to hire if everybody gets paid the same?
You will get all the mediocre who don't mind for playing that at that price.
So football clubs don't run on that basis. They
Mm,
differentiate between the players. Some get, if you read the book, Alex Ferguson wrote a wonderful book, I think it's called Leading, and he talked about how at that level you need to be able to manage superstars, and it's a very different way of managing superstars as managing the average person.
mm,
So businesses need to get real. If you really are getting your results from the 20%, then you need to listen to what the 20% want. If
but
you
the eighty
listen to the
percent are
8,
really the 80% are really empowered now.
no, but
Don't you
you
think so?
you yeah, but you
Because
you need you
it's
need to,
like,
if you're
wow,
honest, it's
there's
fine.
different treatment for different people now.
Exactly
Oh
right. Yeah, yeah.
man.
And the problem is not in the different treatment. The problem is in pretending it's not different. Because it is different.
Mm,
If it's not different in monetary, it is different. It's different for sure. Maybe it's not in monetary in your organization, but it's different. The 20% can do a little bit more, they can get away with a bit more. Be open about it. These are the guys who are contributing, and they're going to be treated differently.
but in a world today where it's very open and um, sensitive to criticisms, um, I mean, but that's another issue, right? Because there are a lot of flame wars out there about how employers treat uh, their staff differently according to.
Yeah, but Chiseng, honestly, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that this is hidden.
Mm,
Can you imagine that if I tell you when you join, there are two paths for you. You can work, not put too much effort. This will be your compensation. You can work, put more effort, get more results. This will be your compensation. You can choose.
right.
The problem comes when you're not explicit about it because you're embarrassed about it. Why be embarrassed about it?
Yeah,
Like I
that
said, with
that
the
would be quite a radical change from how
no,
recruitment
but
and HR
well, is Lewis Hamilton paid the same fee as Alonso? He's not.
Mm,
He performs better.
yeah, and then and this comes back to what you said just now, right? About uh, what do you call it, the probation, right? What, do away with it and just talk about performance.
Exactly.
Okay, right. So oh, we're almost at the end of the show.
Yeah, I know
And
we're
I
running out
fit
of
in one more
time, but right.
question. How do leadership, communication, or branding fit into the entrepreneurialism?
I think one of the core values of entrepreneurs for me is
Mm,
the respect, right?
mm,
And so I think when you talk about leadership, you talk about communication and branding, it has to be real. It has to be authentic.
mm.
And so you cannot, in the old days, you could spin a story for your suppliers, spin a different story for your customers, spin a different story for your. Everybody knows everything now.
Yeah,
And that's what I tell people that when you write an email, imagine that it gets into the wrong hands
yeah.
because it will, right? So you cannot lie.
So easy to screenshot something and spread it around, right?
No, it's you need to, if you want to build a brand, it has to be built on some fundamentals.
Mm,
And your communication has to be authentic to those fundamentals, right?
right.
And then
And
you
you're,
cannot
you're
say that we want leaders, we want to empower people, but we still need 16 signatures, and every time you spend $5, we're going to call you in and ask you to explain why.
you are absolutely right there.
So I worked for another organization, and they took a different approach. No
Mm,
car, no expenses, no claims. Full
mm,
stop for nobody. That also works.
right. Just have to be upfront about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm,
So we think we pay you enough for you to cover all that other kind of stuff. So don't
mm,
claim for anything. So I don't need a claims department. I don't do verify. I don't need to worry about people cheating. Nothing. You
yeah.
just don't get claims. don't submit claims.
And I totally agree with you about being authentic to your fundamentals, and it really boggles my mind when so many companies say that our people are our greatest assets, and then the people are the first one to go when anything happens to the company, and I mean stuff like that. But that also comes my next question. How do we get organizationally buy in into the fundamentals, right? How do we even know the fundamentals if you are really well established and long, you
It's
know?
not easy.
Hmm.
It's not easy because you've got a lot of people in the organization who feel fear from the potential change, and
Hmm.
you get people in the organization who are not performing.
Hmm.
But the flip side, you get people who are underperforming because of how you are.
Hmm.
And if you change it, these people who are underperforming will step up. So there's no simple answer. You need to get really into the detail of it.
Yeah, I remember one time, I wasn't involved in the business side. I was just doing the internal communications. New CEO came into a bank, small bank, just 500 employees, and they've been struggling for some years, and he wanted to turn it around. In fact, he was mandated to turn it around, and he realized he needed a new culture. And what happened was, I think within the year that he was in there was like 20+% turnover. Just people just couldn't take the what he was, the culture, the new culture that was coming in,
Yeah.
and I could imagine if you're a bank, a service company, right, with 20% turnover, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, teaching is hard always. It's today we also, I think, live in an environment where there's more fear of job loss.
Mm,
So, people would tend to hang on harder than in the past. I mean, I know one company, and he would love some of his people to leave, but they just don't want to leave. So you get
and that,
all sorts.
yeah, that was actually the other end also, right? I mean the other part, the other side of the coin. They was like, okay, if they want to go, they go, but some people are still not going yet fast enough.
And
Yeah.
that's the whole thing, right there. And what I want to tell people is, don't look to these rigid models, and go back to basics. What are you doing for the customer? Why is he buying from you?
Mm,
How do you improve that? How do you improve what you do? How do you improve his experience?
right.
Are you
So
doing
once
anything?
you have
Are you
that,
doing anything in your organization to stop your people from performing?
right? So once you have the I mean, it's actually very simple, right? You have the clarity of what you want to achieve in your business in terms of your client facing or market facing side, and you have the clarity of where your fundamentals are coming from, right? Everything in between is flexible. How you
Correct.
get from here to there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at the end of the show. That was fast. Okay,
Great to have you.
your three key takeaways for tonight.
I would say number one, really, as a person, as an individual, as a company, understand your competencies, which is really your skills, right? Think about how those can be improved, right? And then think about your customers. What are your customers doing? How are they moving? Because it's two parts moving, right? Your customer is moving in one direction. Your ability to serve him is also under is also moving, right? So you have your customer moving, his needs, his expectations. You have your potential system moving, changing how you make, how you deliver, right? And then you have your competencies, and you really need to work them all.
Right. Was that three?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right.
Competencies, what you are doing and what your customer is
Okay.
wanting.
That was so seamless. I didn't even realize.
That's why disruption, I say, is not disruption. Disruption is continuum.
Right.
Remember the CD-ROMs, right?
Yeah.
Full
Continuum.
cycle.
It's whether we realize where the changes and where the similarities are.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Any final words before we close off the show?
No, thanks for having me. There are no easy answers,
Indeed, indeed.
but you got to keep at it.
Yeah, and basically that's what being entrepreneurial is about, right? It's not about looking for a fixed answer that's going to last forever. It's just looking at what is and doing what needs to be done.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, thank you very much, Anwar, and thank you very much for everyone who's joining us. Let me just give a preview of the next show that we're going to have. We are going to have Lisa Klenk, who is going to be joining us on this. Why did I put this? Oh no, I'm supposed to show the date on this poster. I put the wrong poster. Anyway, Lisa Clank will be joining us on December 14th. And she's going to be talking about personal branding and how does it help you to get ahead in your career. This is her specialty, being a personal branding coach, and as well as someone who has a real interesting rags to riches story, right? Lisa is somebody that I really admire. And I'm very glad that she's agreed to do this. Um, so, with that, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight. And I will see you on the next Leaders Dojo. Have a great day.